Hello, good evening, welcome to Upfront. And it's been day one of the commission specially tasked to make sure that the probe, the Ayawaso West war gun violence, it's sitting. Revelations from this particular committee. And one very important one is the National Security Minister claiming the masked men, the armed men deployed in the violent situation in that constituency never shot anybody. We would actually be probing this and other issues that have come up during the committee's sitting. The people who were there saw what happened and have evidence to show for it. You welcome back. This is Upfront. My name is Raymond Aqua. My guest today is the Director of Communications, the National Communications Officer of the NDC. Sammy, you're welcome.
Thank you, Raymond.
Now, first, let's get to understand what really happened on the ground, because there is this specific claim by the minister in charge of national security in this country today that not only 6 warning shots were delivered out there. Nobody was shot by the state-sponsored and the state-recruited SWAT team, he says, is attached to, of course, seconded from the police to the national security. We'll be showing you videos of the grounds on shootings and what really happened in this particular case. But did that revelation surprise you?
I wasn't surprised at all, because I've always known that lies and double talk are in the DNA of the NPP. And so I was not surprised when they were contradicting themselves today before the Commission of Inquiry. One minister says A, another minister says B, and all that. That is what happens to you when you try to lie in a desperate attempt to absolve yourself from obvious complicity. But you see, the people of this country, Raymond, are very discerning. And I know that they will not be deceived and they will not be hoodwinked by the lies that our brothers in the NPP and government are peddling on this matter.
So which specific lies in this case?
Oh, for example, today, I don't know whether you follow the proceedings. The Minister for Interior, Honorable Ambrosderi, says that the police-branded vehicles that we saw these so-called national security operatives in did not belong to the Ghana police. He says he has that confirmation from the IGP that those vehicles do not belong to the Ghana police. And then you have the Minister of National Security, Honorable Kandapa, and the Minister of State for National Security, Honorable Brian Echampon, contradicting that by stating that those vehicles were actually the property of the Ghana Police Service. That's number one. Secondly, the issue about the identity of the thugs and hoodlums who were unleashed on innocent civilians in Ayawaso West Wagon. The Minister for Interior, Honorable Ambuzeri, says, I've spoken to the IGP. These thugs, or these, let me put it, so-called operatives, are not members or officials of the police service. Now, few minutes after that, the Minister for National Security comes, supported by the Minister of State for National Security, Brian Echampon, that, we deployed 60 men, and 25 of them were police officers, and were, in fact, the whole squadron that they deployed, according to them, were under the command of a police officer called DSP Azugu or so. So who is telling the truth? But one government, appointees from one government contradicting themselves left, right, center, making a mockery of our governance process. I think that what happened today was very
Minister
sad.
of State was clear in his mind. He said that he did not personally deploy this grouping. Indeed, we will play back what he said earlier to actually compare what he said proud to
whether or not.
I'll come to that point. But the substantive point he made about who is in control, he said the deployment of these men who are with the national security, and according to Kadapa, who are seconded from the police, so the police will not know when they are deployed, was done by a director of operations, and that he as minister is not responsible for that particular operation. Is that clear enough for you?
No, not at all. You see, the Ayawaso West Wagon incident happened about 2 weeks ago. Is that not so, Raymond? 2 weeks ago. I am sure that police and the Ministry of Interior, the National Security Ministry have had engagements at their own level as to what actually happened. So today, at the Commission of Inquiry hearing, you have the Minister of Interior saying on authority that these people do not belong to the Ghana Police Service.
Yes.
That is his position today. And yet, another Minister of State, Minister for National Security, says they belong to the Ghana Police Service.
And they were seconded to the National Security.
Something the IGP and the Minister of Interior is denying. But we as citizens, you see, we know the truth because we actually saw these thugs who were clothed in national security apparatus, equipped with arms and logistics belonging to the state. We saw them, in some instances, in the company of the police and under the supervision of the police, you know, when they were brutalizing innocent citizens of this country. And Joy News, you know, has shown us some of the video clips. I've seen some video clips from your station where you see, you know, a police officer, a fat police officer, I'm told he's the said DSP Azuku, you know, in the company of these hooded, masked security, you know, so-called security officials, some of whom were wearing earrings, dreadlocks, you know, crazy haircuts, beards, with pot bellies and all that, working hand in hand and actually watching on as they were brutalizing a certain member of parliament, Honorable Sam George, and other innocent citizens of this country. So clearly, you can see that governments, I mean the various ministers of states who appeared before the Commission of Inquiry today were not speaking the truth. The accounts contradict each other, and only one can be true. And we know the truth.
There's an issue that I wanted to clarify for me. You were there throughout the election. You as is supposed to be representing the political party, the NDC in this case. Is it a contestation of the NDC that what is being said, which is specifically that there were suspicions of armed, ammunition somewhere, and this was specifically at the in the house that they later learned was the candidate's own. Kandapa says the gunshots were probably, that actually hurts people, caused the injuries, were probably from the house of the candidate you are talking about in this case. And the only thing that prevented them from using force to enter the place was just because they realized later on it was the candidate's house. So they were more tactical after they rained they pelted them with stones and all of that. Is that what happened?
That claim defies logic, and that cannot be the case. You've raised two important issues. One, in relation to gunshots, who fired the gunshots, and so on. Two, in relation to the so-called intelligence that the National Security Ministry claims to have received, for which reason they deployed that, you know, illegal armed force to the residence of the NDC parliamentary candidates. Now, number one, let me deal with the issue of the so-called intelligence they claim that they received. My brother, so government tells us that they received intelligence that some people had hoarded ammunition and weapons at the residence of the NDC parliamentary candidates.
They later found out it was in a building, but he says they later found out that it was the NDC parliamentary candidate's house.
You go to violation. Every person in violation, you can even ask the little boys and girls there. They know the house of Honorable Delali Kwesi Brimpong. So our national security cannot tell us that when they were going to that building, they didn't know that was it. In fact, if you listen to the interviews they granted, they made it clear that they got intelligence that we were camping people in the house of our parliamentary candidates. And we had actually hoarded weapons and ammunition in his house. You see, so this should let you know that what they are telling us today is a mere afterthought.
And you figure it's not possible that could be the situation.
Where are the weapons? What did they retrieve from the house? What did they, if they had credible intelligence on the basis of which they acted, where are the arms? Well, did they even retrieve a catapult from the house?
The people that are gathered in the candidates, what were they doing there?
They were NDC supporters who in the morning had come to the house of their parliamentary candidates.
For what specifically?
On election days, Raymond, you know that various party members are given different assignments, some as party agents, some as observers, some to provide food for our officials and so on and so forth.
So that was what they were there for?
Exactly. But when they went there, did they find anybody engaging in something illegal? Did they find anybody with arms, as they've alleged, all over the place? Did they retrieve any ammunition and weapons from the house?
They said they picked up people.
So clearly we know now that that so-called intelligence they received was contrived. It had no credible basis whatsoever. Now, secondly, this issue about, we actually didn't shoot at the people. In fact, the only people who shot, at somebody, according to Kandapa, he said the only people who fired warning shots
were security officers fired
police officers.
There's 6
police
of these
officers. That's what he said, right? Yeah. Okay. Now, what is Kandapa telling us? He's telling us that your station is being deceptive because we've seen a video from Joy News, which actually captures what actually happened in the residence of the parliamentary candidates that morning. And we actually, in that video, you actually see these masked so-called national security operatives who we know to be thugs and hoodlums belonging to the invisible forces and the Delta forces of the MPP shooting at the people. We have seen those videos. So what is he telling us? So is he telling us that our own people shot themselves? Our own people shot themselves?
We'll tell you some of these accounts. And of course, we have some videos we'll show you too. Perhaps in the course of this conversation, you'll be seeing us screen, for example, the kind of gunshots and the warning shots they are being known now that we heard prior to or at that particular time. That's actually going to be on the screen there. But what I hear you say is that the National Security Minister, who has full briefing of what's happening on the ground, who is in charge of the security situation, did not understand or know, but I've not seen you. Show me evidence of the exact people who did the shooting in this case. I saw injured people. I saw videos, and we have them, of people who were injured. What I have not seen so far is directly who did the shooting of these injured people. And what the minister is saying is that the people could have been shot by the people within the house.
How is that possible?
No, he said that because the people that they sent there, actually, they can account for only one injured person. But the rest, the 6 warning shots that they put out there, did not in any way injure the rest of the people.
So what he's saying in effect is that the parliamentary candidate of the NDC that morning was in his house with supporters of the party. And when they attacked his residence, our supporters decided to shoot themselves. Is that what they're saying?
Yeah.
Is that what they're saying? And you actually believe that?
No, he didn't say. He says that he doesn't know who shot them. That's stated clearly.
Clearly. We know the one who assaulted Honorable Sam George, a certain member of parliament. And we know that to be a member of this so-called national security, armed force. We know that as a matter of fact. Don't we know that? We know the people who assaulted our deputy national youth organizer, Edem Agbana.
Yeah.
That was the bodyguard of the national youth organizer of the new patriotic party called Nana One.
And this you've reported to the police?
Of course, we know. We've reported that to the IGP. We know the people who assaulted our deputy national women's organizer, Mami Ufua. We know the people who assaulted his brother and who almost killed him. They beat that young gentleman as though he was an armed robber or a criminal. You've seen the videos where these masked, where these masked thugs and hoodlums pounds on one innocent, gentleman who, for me, posed no threat to them. He was not armed. He had no gun, no knife or anything. You had about 10 of these heavily built thugs pounding on him, kicking him in the stomach, kicking him on the face, and so on. We saw the atrocities they committed, and these things have been captured on video.
There's a question I'm asking you, and this is not the main contention here is who shot the people who were injured and sent to the hospital. Can you tell me that you know these people and you can attribute them to the people who belong to the team from the national security?
Exactly. I can tell you that
and you have evidence to suggest that you saw them shooting them.
Of course, there were people in the house. The parliamentary candidate was there that morning with his family. Okay? After the incident happened, the leadership of our party, led by our national chairman, went to the house. We've listened to, or you can speak to the victims themselves. They will tell you who shot them. Because it doesn't make sense that you will tell me that our own people pulled guns and shot our own people. It doesn't make sense.
Now, that's why I'm asking you this question.
I understand.
The question is because
that is why I
the minister is contesting it.
That is why I said
have not seen any video.
That is why I'm saying that the accounts by the Minister of National Security, Honorable Kandapa, is ridiculous. It is mind-boggling. It cannot be possible. It is incredible. It is not something that we must even waste our time on.
But all that you've done is to dispute it.
Of the Ayawaso West were
Do you have any video that suggests that the shooting was done? Was it captured on video? And the people...
Yes, I have seen one video from Joe. Unfortunately, we are live, and so I cannot show you the video. But after this program, I can show that video to you, where you see them, not these, so-called national security operatives, actually firing, not warning shots, but firing into the people. And I have spoken to some of our party supporters who were there. They said, we're in the house preparing for the elections, preparing to accompany our parliamentary candidate outside, when we heard warning shots.
Yes,
when these guys actually entered the house and said everybody should lie down. And so the few ones who tried, hold on, I'm not done with the account. No, but the few ones who tried to run away for their lives, I don't know whether they thought they were resisting arrest or they wanted to retaliate or something like that. They were the ones they actually shot. My brother, you see, what we are talking about must not be subjected to the usual partisan politics we do in this country. Because we are talking about the lives of innocent citizens of this country. As I speak to you now, Raymond, somebody is lying on a hospital bed at the 37 military hospital. And the doctors are saying that they fear that they may have to amputate his leg. If you go, in fact, days after the Ayawaso, election, we saw bones, blood in the house of our parliamentary candidates. As we speak to you now, we can tell you that over 28 of our supporters have reported various, cases of assault and brutalities on their lives. Some have been
to the police.
Exactly, we've reported all that to the police.
And the IGP should be aware of this.
We've presented a petition to the IGP. They are aware of that. Some of them are in the hospital as we speak now. So what we are discussing is not, the usual MPP, NDC politics. What happened, listen, Raymond, was nothing but state-sponsored terrorism, where people who are known members of MPP militia groups were recruited, armed and equipped with weapons and logistics belonging to the state, and ordered to unleash mayhem and violence on innocent, unarmed citizens of this country. And that cannot be justified.
I need to ask you this question. One, can you just give me the names of these specific people who are members of the NPP supposed armed terror group?
There is a gentleman called Double. Double.
His actual name is Double?
He's known as Double. I can get his actual name for you. That is available. Double is the personal bodyguard of the national organizer of the New Patriotic Party,
even today?
Mr. Sammy.
Even today?
Yes, even today. I was on Peace FM with him. I confronted him, and he admitted on that program that indeed Double is his bodyguard. You've seen the pictures. He was one of the leaders of these, thugs who we are being told were national security operatives. He was one of them. I can show you. We have actually...
The minister said there's no known specific...
That is Brian Echampong.
Yes.
But he has again been contradicted by his superior. In this case, the National Security Minister...
May.
No.
I heard Kandapa myself.
The National
His
Security
expression was
Minister...
May.
He says
and
that it is possible.
Yes, he says it's possible.
He said it is possible.
But that doesn't mean...
But are you not alarmed by that?
Of course, there's a movement from it's not possible to it's possible. I'm not contesting that.
Are you not alarmed by that? Today, we heard from one of the members of the commission, Professor Henrietta Mensah-Bonsu, indicates that these militia groups, invisible forces, delta forces, and so on, are illegal entities operating in this country. And what they actually engage in are criminal acts, and they must be treated as such. Something, a claim, which was corroborated by the Minister of Interior and the Minister of National Security.
Yeah,
you understand?
That.
Now, the National Security Minister tells you that it is possible for these criminals, I am quoting and using the words of Professor Henrietta Mensah-Bonsu, it is possible that some of these criminals are actually members of our national security who are being paid with our taxes, and you are not alarmed? That goes to confirm our assertion that these guys are not national security operatives.
Sammy, it's possible for you to say on one hand that you do not believe all the things that the minister said, the national security minister, Albert Kandapa in this case. But when he makes this admission of the possibility of having some of these men, you believe that part?
Because I know that to be true. And we all know that to be true.
So what you believe in what
there
he
are
says?
so many. If I refer on my phone to my phone right now, I can show you so many of these, tags to give you the actual. I mean, the guy who assaulted Honorable Sam George, we know him. That guy.
What's his name?
He's called Chana. He's from the Upper West region. He lives in the
anybody
region.
can have them.
They are all
My
there.
difficulty is that
Raymond,
if you want me to identify properly anybody,
Raymond,
or if you call out the person to respond to this claim,
the ostrich
no,
here.
no, I'm saying
Are you telling me? Are you telling me?
I want you and you a lawyer to give me proper identification of people that can hold the people to.
Let's
not nicknames that can be taken off any time.
Okay, can I come in now?
No problem.
Raymond, do you know, you've been in this country for a while, do you know of any legal armed force operating under the authority and the command of our National Security Council like you saw in the Ayawaso West Wagon elections? You've seen so many elections in this country. Have you seen any such armed force? Look at our security architecture and tell me whether our laws, there is any place in our laws for that armed force we saw. Clearly, I can tell you on authority that the gentleman you saw with the earrings, with beards, with pot bellies, with dreadlocks and so on are not operatives of our national security. But let us even assume, without admitting, for purposes of this discussion, that they are indeed members of our national security. Is that not worse? Doesn't that worsen the case of government? Do you think that any security agency, whether the police, whether the National Security Council, has the authority and the right to brutalize innocent citizens, abuse and violate the civic and fundamental human rights of citizens, like we saw in Ayawaso West Wagon? So whether or not their security operatives is even inconsequential and immaterial to this discussion. The point is that they had a blessing of the states. They were deployed under the command of the National Security Council, which by law is chaired by no less a person than the President of the Republic of Ghana. They were driving in police vehicles. They were holding sophisticated weapons like M16.
The police says they don't know the
AK-47.
vehicles. I'm sure you've heard.
But the National Security Minister says that the vehicles belong to the Ghana Police Service.
You believe him, right?
This is the National Security Minister.
I have a problem with why you choose sometimes to believe the words of the minister, and other times you think it's completely untrue.
But on the face of
on
it.
the other side, sorry, forgive me. On the other side, when you are excited by what he says, you actually want to accept that.
I only, you see, the only reason why I'm saying this is that we all saw the vehicles, right? They had the insignia of the Ghana Police Service.
Yes.
We've seen the videos. These gentlemen were being driven. If you look at the assault of Honorable Sam George, if you look at that video again, you realize that they were in the company of the Ghana Police Service.
Okay.
And so I'm saying that if, based on what we know and what we have seen on tape, what Honorable Kandapa is saying is true. What Brian Echampong is saying is true.
Because,
I am not taking that.
I'm
not saying it is true just because they said it. I am saying it's true because I have seen evidence which suggests that it is true.
No, because
and
you saw
have
the
seen
car.
that evidence.
You saw the car, right?
Of course. So are you saying no?
But,
you see, listen.
Yes. Is the
say,
Interior Minister not in a better position? Is the IGP, who the Interior Minister is sourcing information from, not in a better position to tell you which car is from the police and not from the police in this case?
Okay.
Are they not officials who are directly in charge of the unit?
They can do that. But
I'm saying that.
But what they tell us,
whose words will you place premium on?
That
words, of the Interior Minister or the IGP?
Listen, their
as
words,
against that of the Minister for State in charge of what they call it, national security.
What their claims are not sacrosanct. As human beings, as people who have a conscience, we have a mind of our own, and we can objectively analyze evidence and take a position on that. We have also looked at the videos. We've seen these guys in the company of the police. You've seen the videos yourselves. So let's even put aside the claims of Brian Echampong and Kandapa. Clearly, you cannot tell me that those people, the police, they don't know of them when we saw them driving in police vehicles, when we saw them in the company of policemen who were in uniforms. Have you read the report of the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODIO? Yep. When they actually say that they saw these, attacks, these so-called national security operatives, operating alongside policemen at police stations. Okay. That is something that CODIO has put out.
Okay.
So if you put everything together, you can but come to one conclusion only, that what happened at Ayawaso West Wagon was state-sponsored terrorism. Our president, and for that matter, the state knew of these people. The Minister of State for National Security, Brian Echampon, has admitted that the National Security Ministry actually deployed them, and so that is not in doubt.
That claim is what I want to interrogate next. I mean, of course, he says he didn't do so, and
no, what he said is that he, as a person, didn't deploy, but that the ministry deployed. So let's grant him that, and let's argue on that basis, and let's see whether that is any justification for what happened. The question as to who deployed them, for me, is moot.
Really?
The bottom line is that they were deployed by the National Security Ministry, which is government. But they were equipped by government.
Sorry, forgive me. I've heard people specifically, Nana Atudazi, also some within the NDC say Brian Echampon must be relieved of his position because he did so. No. Is that not clearly... Oh, so you're saying that their claim was not because he did so?
No. Whether or not, you see, Brian Echampon has a certain responsibility to us all because he's the Minister of State for National Security. Is that not the case?
Yeah.
And so let's even say that he, as a person, was not the one who unilaterally deployed these men, but that it was his ministry. We are saying that because that force is illegal, and because of the atrocities that those, thugs actually committed.
You believe it's illegal, not established in any of the conversations so far before the commission that's illegal.
Look at Article 85 of the 1992 Constitution.
Yeah, but this particular commission will actually take a decision on that. Can you tell me the legal
justification for that?
I'm saying that this particular grouping will also take a decision on that, and that's also a matter before the commission in this case, right?
Whether or not they cannot pronounce on the constitutionality of that.
I'm not even saying that. No, I'm not saying that that's what. I'm not saying that that's what they're supposed to do. That's evidence that will go before this same commission, right? The commission will determine whether or not that particular grouping is legal or illegal.
Of course, that's the opinion of the NDC.
Okay, no problem.
That is my opinion as somebody who has some, appreciation of the law.
I get you.
And so it is on that basis that I make the submission.
Okay, but give me a second. Let me just put these two videos together.
Okay.
First, this is what Brian Echampon told us on Newsfile the Saturday of the incident.
Okay.
Please watch this. Seeking information as to, what exactly happened. Why did you have national security officers at the home of only one of the candidates and not the others? What was going on?
Thank you. That information, the information that we had operatives in only one of the candidates' house is not true.
Okay.
We had an election task force made up of police, national security, immigration, customs, private. And we deployed to all the homes of the aspirants, the parliamentary candidates. So that information is not true.
Okay. All right. So is there any reason for this, or this is protocol? You deployed to all their homes?
It's standard protocol. We need to protect every parliamentary candidate.
Okay. But was there some specific assignment for, was there some intelligence leading to some specific assignment which got out of hand?
It is standard protocol that when you have an election like this, you assign security personnel to the parliamentary candidate or parliamentary or presidential candidate. It's a standard security protocol that we adhere to. In addition to that, we also receive intelligence information about some stuff, movements here and there that we track, we trace, and then we neutralize. And that information I may not be comfortable sharing on there.
I see. So the men who died fully armed in the buckets of the vehicles that we saw, they are not they are not guards for the MPs. They were for the special assignment on the intelligence you spoke about, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So were they successful in their assignments?
because it's under active investigation, what the information we have goes beyond the by-election that we just witnessed. It's a massive operation of movement of certain things that is undesirable to the public.
Okay.
And it's something that the operation or the information that we have, what we.
You welcome back. So what that video sought to clarify, just 2 weeks ago, just before the commission started this work, this is perhaps the first time that the minister actually has spoken to the media about what really transpired there. That was when he said that it was indeed the national security operatives that were on the ground. 1. 2. That's when he also said that they had had some intelligence that they were following up in that particular gentleman's house. That's the candidate of the NDC in this case. Now, let me come back in studio here. From what you've heard so far from this commission, and to be fair, from what has transpired so far, do we know whether the NDC is going to engage in it? Because I heard Johnson say that no, the NDC was not going to be part of this.
Yeah, as a political party, we've made it clear that we will not be appearing before the commission voluntarily. Of course, the commission has the powers of a high court, so
they can
subpoena and compare the attendance of witnesses, but we will not go there because we are saying that a commission of inquiry is not an appropriate legal remedy for the Ayawaso West Wogon violence, because we know that because of the right against self-incrimination, the evidence of the witnesses who appear before the commission cannot be used in any future prosecutions against them. We also know that because of the legal principle of double jeopardy, or against double jeopardy, the people against whom adverse findings will be made by the Commission of Inquiry cannot be prosecuted criminally on the basis of those adverse findings. And the Ghana 50 case involving Dr. Rekrubobe and Kojo Pianim, the Yana, matter, have settled these issues. And so we think that these issues are criminal acts which can be dealt with by the criminal justice system of this country. That we do not need to waste our time on a commission of inquiry whose findings anyway are subject to the judgment, or if you like, the discretion of the president who appointed them. They can do all these things. Issue a report. All the president needs to do is to issue a white paper and say, cherry pick on which recommendations he finds favorable and which, he doesn't find favorable, and say, I accept this, I reject this, and all. And that is why since, 1992, we've had so many reports of commission of inquiries sitting on the shelves of various, state departments and agencies, gathering dust and so on and so forth.
And you are
so we want to see this as a criminal
great
matter.
Disservice if a party with information, a party that's also reported to the police just around, a party with active members involved in this continues to stay out unless compelled.
No, you see, but the criminal justice system, which I have alluded to, is also for us, it is the appropriate legal remedy for us in this matter, because what happened is purely criminal, and we think that if the police command and the Attorney General and Minister of Justice is committed to bringing the perpetrators of the Ayawaso West Wogon violence to book, they can do so without a commission of inquiry. And that this commission of inquiry may end up granting the perpetrators, some immunities, which will make the work of the police and the Attorney General very difficult. And you can read the judgment of Justice Mafosao in the Ghana 50 case to understand this point. But you see, let me point out one blatant lie which came out today, at the hearing of the commission.
I'll give you a few seconds.
A few seconds.
Forgive me.
They claim that, the so-called national security operatives were not deployed for purposes of providing security for the elections, but they were only deployed to the residence of the NDC parliamentary candidates. We know from Kodio's report that that is not true. We know that at the prison JHS at Roman Ridge, these thugs, these hoodlums, actually assaulted a police officer. We saw them at various police stations. So that should let you know that these ministers of state, who we pay with our taxes, are just peddling falsehood. Then, again, finally, the claim by Brian Champon that they only applied minimal force. When I heard that, I was alarmed. That a minister of state paid with our taxes will call...
Do you have evidence to the contrary?
Minimal force.
That's the report they had to
people
them.
have been shot and maimed.
Okay.
People's legs may even be amputated as a result of the gunshot wounds they sustained. And he's calling that minimal force. Listen, I think, in all honesty, that Brian Echampong and Honorable Kandapa are not only potential candidates for future criminal prosecutions for their involvement in and their complicity in the Ayawaso West Wagon violence, but they are potential candidates for criminal prosecutions in relation to perjury. Because they are lying under oath,
okay,
and it is just a matter of time.
Forgive me.
But it is just a matter of time.
When that time comes, we'll deal with it. But
they are trying so hard.
My time is up.
Yes, they are trying so hard.
I cannot.
Because this was supposed to be just me and you. The NPT
Sammy
has come and complained and all that you want to give them time. That is fine. But I will end by stating that.
Oh, no, my time is up. I mean,
no problem.
Thank you so much for joining us on this one. We'll continue the conversation. We'll actually be having Deputy Minister of Information to giving us some part of the conversation that's required here. Thank you so much.
There's a compelling reason to make a date with PM Express by asking tough questions. And we also provide a better understanding of the current issues affecting society. We make it simple in an hour because we engage the newsmakers and those who influence change. It's PM Express, comprehensive, practical, and balanced. 9 p.m. Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays on the Joy News channel. There's a compelling...
Ghana's first and only 24-hour news channel, Joy News, presents Joy News Prime, a news bulletin that lets you know all you need to know. Human interest, politics, business, showbiz, and sport. We've got it all covered on Joy News Prime at 7 p.m. Joy News Prime is seen right across Ghana, West Africa, and beyond, and in Europe. Joy News Prime, bringing the news together from all over.
There's a compelling reason to make a date with PM Express. We analyze the burning topics by asking tough questions. And we also provide a better understanding of the current issues affecting society. We make it simple in an hour because we engage the newsmakers and those who influence change. It's PM Express, comprehensive, practical, and balanced. 9 p.m. Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays on the Joy News channel. There's a compelling reason to make...
This is Upfront. My name is Raymond Aqua. So the earlier conversation you heard with the NDC's communications officer. Now, let's turn our attention to a deputy minister in the Ministry of Information. The Honorable Pius Hadzide, you're welcome. I hope you are doing well today.
Well, we are doing well by grace.
It's been a long time since we had a conversation of this sort. Now, I want us to draw down to the Commission of Inquiry into the Ayawaso West violence and the things that have come out of that. Briefly, if I can get your brief thoughts on this. Now, I get the impression that many are getting to the point that, well, the commission was required because you're having revelations. We're having some insight into what really happened there. Government justified in this decision?
Well, first of all, my brother, I'm quite scandalized at some of the commentary that I heard sitting in your production room for the past 30 minutes. And I had to do that from my brother, Sammy Gyamfi from the NDC. And I also think that the concept of initially wanting to have one person from the NDC come and discuss a critical matter such as the Commission of Inquiry within the circumstances. These are people who are shying away from the Commission's work, in fact, who have announced a boycott of the Commission's work and who prefer to come and throw dust into the eyes of the public and not to confront the fundamental issues that are under consideration at the Commission of Inquiry. I find that concept quite counterproductive.
I hear your point.
And I would that, but for the proactiveness of the Minister for Information, a lot of the untruths and falsehoods that were published should have gone uncorrected. Okay. And now, I think that we should move
I
away
get you, but
from
can
that.
we get to the point? Yeah.
Which is that I think that in the first place, the decision of His Excellency the President has been justified. and the change that the people of Ghana voted for is clearly manifest. My brother, you are aware that this is not the first time that we have had violence associated with our elections. In Agbogboshi, people were maimed, people were killed, just because there was going to be a registration for elections. We have had by-elections, and we are all witnesses. We are living testimonies to what have happened, either in Tripoli or in Talensi, Etiwa, wherever. But no precedent in the history. So the violence in itself, without attempting to justify it, the violence in itself is not new. What is new is the bold decision taken by the current leadership of this country to have this matter fundamentally confronted so that we can move on. And that is why, from the very onset, we must make a clear distinction between the NPP and its leadership and then the NDC and its leadership. In other dispensations, these things have gone, no arrests were made, no inquiries were commissioned, and so it became like a vicious cycle. And now we have a president who is attempting to break that. And I think that is a good thing. And we have to commend His Excellency the President. Now, and we have to condemn those who are attempting to derail the efforts of the commission, to give the dog a bad name. They started calling the commission and commissioners names. They were unfair. Some of them even suggested that they were members of the NPP or had affiliations and associations with the NPP. Today, quite scandalous. We are sitting down here, and this same group of persons who had poo-pooed this commission of inquiry are coming out there to at least comment on the first day, and mind you, the first day of the work of the commission. I think a lot of the things that have been said are misleading.
Specifically,
for instance, that there is a video that is only available to the NDC and its communication director that shows people who shooting at somebody. He keeps making the point. After the show, I'll show you the video. After the show, I'll show you the video. I am sure that is the production that His Excellency, the former president, yesterday attempted to show to the international community. That's a production of the NDC. Okay, it's a production of the NDC meant to deceive the people of Ghana and the international and people can see can see beyond what they are doing.
What's on this production? I have not seen it.
Well, I mean, we want to see everybody, but the NDC hasn't seen the production. And you see, because you see one thing His Excellency, the former president, Mr. Mahama, said yesterday, and I heard him loud and clear, was that he pointed to a Land Cruiser and said that that Land Cruiser was the Land Cruiser that the candidate at the time, now MP, was using, and that she was being escorted by those that group of national security operatives who were involved in the unfortunate incidences that we saw in Baulishi. But that cannot be true, because all through that day, fortunately, I was with the candidate, now MP. She actually was in my vehicle. And we visited at least 21 of the polling stations. And so ordinary Ghanaians whose taxes pay Mr. Mahama and co know that the woman visited those polling stations unaccompanied. In fact, at several of the polling stations, she was interviewed by the media, and I challenged the media. Those of you who saw the candidate doing rounds on that day, you should come out and contradict Mr. Mahama and tell the truth and expose him for peddling a falsehood by insisting that those security operatives were escorting the then candidate and now MP around the polling stations. That's a blatant fabrication. And several other things. Now, we are being told that contradictions have happened. On what matter? Assuming without admitting even that there were contradictions. We are members of the same government. Does that not suggest to you that there is no conspiracy around this matter? Assuming without admitting. I don't have any details. I haven't seen any evidence of any contradiction yet. But assuming without admitting that even there were contradictions, what prevented ministers who are involved in a cover-up, who believe that, okay, there is something that a scheme that we are all involved in as an MPP, we sponsored it, and so what prevented them from sitting around and, if you may, trying to consolidate a singular story and support each other as though as they do in conspiracy? And so you can see that the NDC is talking from the both sides of their mouth. They are approbating and reprobating on this matter. Me, I have said that there can be questions that can be asked with the rules of engagement of national security operatives. There's a video that I have watched, and it's been out. I've watched it on your network, of somebody who was interviewed, and the person says, I'm NDC national security. I didn't know that political parties were supposed to have national security operatives. I didn't know that. Even forget about the national security, because that's what they said, because that's the impression, that's what they were commissioned to come and do. And so I'm saying to you that, assuming that they are just even sick, because I've heard that people say that his choice of wrong words, he just meant security. What does the NDC, what business does the NDC have on elections day organizing security? Is security for elections a business for the NDC or the MPP? Security for the day of elections is for the police and the security apparatus.
On the ground, the question about whether or not the people that went to the house of the candidate were not the ones who shot the injured people, and that they only shot into the air warning shots, 6 of them specifically.
Well, I was not.
And you've seen the injured people, right?
Yes, I have.
You've seen them.
I have seen, and people keep talking about.
I've seen pictures of you and the MP now go to the hospital and meet these people.
Absolutely.
Did they tell you which people shot them?
Well, I mean, they didn't, because they didn't. And that's why an inquiry is important. And that's why I'm surprised that the NDC is attempting to prevent its operatives and the people they brought in from cooperating with the commission. A fair question should be asked to the gentleman. Who were those who fired the shots? But they are saying that don't go.
The question, he says that he will provide video evidence of it. I asked him consistently whether, if the minister says he doesn't know them and they could be from the NDC, he says no, but does he have any video to put?
Can you imagine the story?
But you are an official of this state. You are a minister of information. And again, you are active on the ground.
Yes.
Was it foreseeable to you that the NDC itself will shoot its own supporters?
Well, I mean,
and cause the injuries that we see on the ground?
No. It's not a question of deliberate shooting. Anything can happen. Okay? And I have seen people get caught up in their own fire. It's happened before.
But say they didn't even have arms in the first place.
But you don't expect them to say they have arms. Okay? I mean, all criminals will tell you that, no, we are not criminals, we are just passing. It is investigations that will establish the facts, not what they tell us. But what is instructive is that people were brought into that constituency that didn't have any business being in the constituency in the first place. The gentleman that I visited, in the hospital, for instance, says that he stays in Fadama. His family is from Shukura. He doesn't vote in the constituency.
Might be a polling agent.
But I'm saying to you that, are you saying that the NDC doesn't have people in Ayawaso West Ogun to do elections duties for them?
To be fair, Sam George has no responsibility in the Ayawaso West Ogun. He was there too.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
That's what happens with by-elections. You pull resources together.
No doubt about that.
Yes.
So if somebody says that people were brought in, you should also not discount it. We should go beyond that and see why they were brought in. I've heard interviews of one of the national vice chairpersons of the NDC who claimed that he ordered his boys, the boys he brought in, not to fire.
Which national vice?
Mr. Sofa Zoka, that he ordered his boys not to fire. Not to fire what? Christmas knockouts? If the guys didn't have anything that could be fired, why give the instructions that they shouldn't fire? Even the answers they give, the guy I spoke to you about saying he says he belongs to NDC National Security. What Mr. Sofa Zoka says that he ordered his boys not to fire. Even the answers they give them away.
But the question I'm asking is about how it is possible that NDC will set up a scheme that shoots its own people.
No, it's not a question. Maybe that
maims them.
No, but that may not have been the
intent.
Idea. That may not have been the intent. There was actionable intelligence, as we are told by the national security. And let's not discount this. My brother, not too long ago, one of our neighboring countries, people were shot there. There was terrorism.
Actionable intelligence that did not know that this was a candidate's home.
No, I'm not sure that
that's
that
what I
answer
heard the
is
Honorable Kandapa say so. Mr.
Kandapa says that.
Yes.
Mr. Kandapa says that that question should be answered by the commander, and that as far as his briefing is concerned, as far as his recollection is concerned, what he was told is that at the time they got there, they learned that was the candidate's house. But the candidate, I know that place very well.
Okay.
The candidate doesn't stay in that place. The candidate stays in Trasaco.
Really?
And so for a very long time, Mr. Delali Brimpon has not stayed in that building. He stays in Trasaco. I can take you to his house in Trasaco. I know the place very well. And so, yes, he has stayed there before. It is his building, and there's no doubt about it. But if you get intelligence, again, it depends on what time the intelligence came in. You do not have the luxury of time if you get intelligence very close to the.
Was it close to the election or after the election?
I didn't receive the intelligence. We will allow.
But you should have been informed. I mean,
no, I don't. No, I'm not. If the police or the BNI or the national security gather intelligence, they don't have to tell us. They don't tell us. They take their actions, and that is why I'm saying that. Look, let's not take this matter for granted.
But forgive me for a second. Is it not strange that the Interior Minister says the vehicles do not belong to the police in any way, but he has police endorsements on them? Again, he suggests that he doesn't know these men. Now, the National Security Minister said they were seconded to his unit.
No, I'm not surprised.
You're not surprised?
There are God knows how many policemen in this country. I do not expect that the Minister of Interior knows every police officer one by name, by identity.
But he will know a team that's called a SWAT team.
Yes, but I'm not saying that. I'm not sure that the minister would have said that he's not aware that there are SWAT teams in this country.
That is what he said. He doesn't have them as part of his unit.
No,
and this one
that we don't have SWAT teams in the police? I don't think so.
Have any.
Maybe we may have to re-listen to him. I do not believe that any Minister of Interior, and I know Minister Derry quite well, very intelligent, astute lawyer, intelligent man. I do not believe that he will say that he's not aware of the existence of a SWAT team. He may be saying that he's not aware of the individuals, which for me is a fair answer. He doesn't need to know every policeman who works in this country, who is serving this country.
Is it a practice
but you
that
see,
the police...
On the question of vehicles.
Yes, vehicles specifically.
Yes, on the question of vehicles.
Yes.
I again have said that the Commission of Inquiry should establish the rules of engagement, the procedures. I had one answer about the armory, and the Minister for National Security said that they have an armory, okay? It is manned by the police, okay? They have it within the national security setup, okay? So whenever they want to deploy, they deploy from the armory, but it is the police who control it. It is possible that we can have a SWAT vehicle, okay, which is within, if you may, the yard or jurisdiction of the national security, but which, when it's being deployed, would be deployed by the police. And so, you don't understand?
I don't understand what you're saying.
Well, I'm saying that you remember the answer that there's an armory.
Yeah, no, sorry, I'm talking about the vehicle.
Yes, I'm giving you an analogy that the same situation
with this vehicle, who does it belong to?
The same situation. I'm saying that these are matters that are unraveling before the Commission of Inquiry.
Haven't you been able to establish
no. It is not. You see, there's a commission. No.
So if the Interior Minister says this vehicle is not our vehicle,
yes, there is a commander.
Yeah.
The commander will come. The commander will explain. And I'm saying to you that unless you are suggesting that the government should have done some of the work of the Commission of Inquiry already before the commission was set up, which I don't think is the attitude that we want to encourage in this country. It's a fact-finding, also a fact-finding Commission of Inquiry. So let them go ahead and find their facts. And I think that this is only the first day. Only 3 witnesses have appeared before the commission. Let's not be too hasty to draw any conclusions.
I get your point. And that's where, forgive me, but we have to end the conversation here. We will be engaging you more as the conversations go on the rest of the days. Well, folks, that's where we tie the nice ribbons on today's edition of Upfront. My name is Raymond Dakwa.